Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Monday, October 21st, 2024. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a bit about my co-host. Folks, do you know that today is National Reptile Awareness Day? And my co-host is very adamant about making awareness between the harmless milk snake and the very venomous coral snake. You see, they look almost identical, but she told me it is important to note that with the milk snake, they have a black ring between the red and yellow rings, whereas the coral snake has a red and yellow ring that touch. And then she said, or is it the other way around? She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of northern Alberta. She is Sheila Gunn Reid. Let's just be safe, Sheila, and run away from any snake that look like these snakes.
God, you know what? I'm terrified of snakes. I don't live in a place where there are snakes, but more recently, I've seen snakes on the road, dead on the road. Usually snakes are like a south of the Yellowhead Highway 16 thing. They even have signs like beware snake migration. I'm always like, ha ha ha. Smart gun relatives settling on the other side of the highway. We don't have snakes over there. We're too far north. I saw 2 snakes dead on the road on my side of the highway this year. I was like, is it time? Is it time to move off the farm? Could it be? I don't want to live somewhere where there's snakes. I don't know how people do it.
There's only one explanation, Sheila Gunn Reid. It's obviously climate change, global warming. Your northern Alberta is turning into a snake paradise. Soon Newfoundland will be a wine producing region. Hey, I'm telling you today.
Once again.
Yes. And Sheila, today, Toronto is going up to 26 degrees.
Oh, it's snowing. It's snowing here right now.
That's unbelievable.
On a break, I'll run upstairs and take a picture of the snow on my Jeep. It's snowing today. I've got my Helly Hansen shirt on. It's frosty here. So hopefully it kills all them snakes.
Well, it should be 12 degrees. But I mean, going back to the coral and milk snake, Sheila, who in their right mind is going to look at a snake? Because they're almost they're twins to me as far as I'm concerned. And someone goes, wait, it's red, yellow, black is dangerous. Black, red, yellow is good.
You know what?
Like in the heat of the moment, are you going to remember that?
No. It's like this is the same thing as sometimes I watch. You know, I'm a bit of a prepper and I'm a bit of a forager, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I will not forage for is mushrooms, unless it's like the big puff balls, because mushrooms can kill you. And the poisonous ones look almost identical to the not poisonous ones. And I just think it's not worth it to take the chance, right? It's the same thing with the snake. It's like, oh, I'm going to pick this one up and pet it because the colors are reversed. So this one's perfectly fine. This one's my friend. This one isn't trying to kill me. Let's
Well,
just all assume that wild mushrooms and snakes are trying to kill us.
yeah, and there you go, folks, from Sheila Gunn Reid herself. That's all you need to know on Reptile Awareness Day, National
Do you know what?
Reptile Awareness Day. No
I'm
less.
disappointed. Of all the special days you could have selected today, you didn't pick National Back to the Future Day when you had an opportunity to throw on your Nikes, pop in a VHS, and rev up your DeLorean and tell us about the 1980s. You didn't pick that day. You picked the snake day.
I was thinking about it, and don't forget the DeLorean with the uber rare flux capacitor option,
Right.
Sheila, so we can actually go back to the 80s, you know, when things were normal, right?
Reagan days? Take me there. Reagan,
I agree.
Thatcher? Get, pick me up. If you find a DeLorean, come past, pick me up, and we'll go. I'll wear my Timex T80 watch. I'm ready. We should tell everybody what we're doing here because it's a very packed show, very busy day. I am almost done watching testimony of CBC CEO Catherine Tate tell us. She literally said there would be no women's sports. What is a woman anyway?
Oh,
No Canadian music or Canadian TV. And then she listed off a bunch of Canadian shows I have absolutely never heard of, and I'm a Canadian. And that the language of Inuktitut would not exist save for the CBC. That's how culturally significant they are. Just the gall and self-importance of this lady. It's crazy. Anyways,
well,
but what are we doing?
regarding the last point, I'm sure the ownership of the Edmonton Elks is very
Yes. She's back there at committee with her hot roots, red hair dye. Anyway, this is the Rebel News Roundup. It's a show that used to be every single day, but there's too much news to pull David off the street and get him into the studio to co-host with me. So now we host Rebel Roundup on the first work day of the week and on the last work day of the week, Friday. But the work never ends at Rebel News. We don't keep bankers hours around here, as you know that. Wherein we talk about the news of the day and the week, completely unscripted, as you can obviously tell. But we also want to hear from you. It's why we do a live show. So if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for sticking it out over there. I think we're approaching 1.7 million viewers. I would love to see it get to 2 million just for spite. However, if you are watching us over there, don't unsubscribe from YouTube. I want to see those numbers grow, but just stop watching over there. Head on over to Rumble, where they don't care about your politics. They don't care about my politics, and they care about free speech. And they also allow you to support the work that we do here at Rebel News completely willingly because you want to, unlike what Justin Trudeau does with the mainstream media, just makes you prop up these failing networks, even though they hate you and you hate them. The feeling's mutual, right? So on Rumble, you can leave us something called a Rumble rant. That's our paid chat, excuse me. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we'll read it on air, but don't let that be the bar for entry because, of course, every little bit counts. If you pay for your chat, it highlights your chat so more people see it. And we frequently read the chats that fall below the $5 US cutoff if time allows. And if time allows, even some of your insightful, funny, or spicy free chats. So get chatting, get super chatting, even better. And let's get down to the news of the day. David, take it away.
Well, Sheila, since you and our beloved colleague Drea did such a wonderful job, that is, with the live stream regarding the BC election, I'm getting all kinds of messages and emails saying, hey, what's the deal? I don't know. We still really don't know, don't we, Sheila? So why don't we do an update very briefly about, what is it, nearly 50,000 ballots still uncounted? Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but given the horse races between some of those ridings, that is a king's ransom. So, Sheila, when are we going to get closure on who the ruling party is in British Columbia?
It could be as late as the 28th, I believe. So
What?
between the 26th and the 28th, and could be even later if these things go to a judicial recount. So there's two ridings. Off the top of my head, I can't find them, but I wrote this up this morning, so I should know. But there are two ridings where the difference between the two parties is under 100 votes, which triggers an automatic recount. But also because there were so many early ballots cast, like advance voting, that those ballots are still being cast, and people were allowed to do their mail-in ballot up until election day, up until and including election day. So some of those are still coming in. So there are, when I wrote this up, I don't know if that's changed since then, but as of this morning, 50,000 ballots still outstanding. And what's funny and slightly ironic is that they were using Dominion voting tabulators. David, sip it.
I know.
Okay. They were using Dominion, not voting machines. I want to be very clear. I did my digging on this, probably more than anybody passing around conspiracy theories, but I did my digging on this. And Dominion voting tabulators were used, which were supposed to deliver the results nearly instantly. Well, it was like 1 a.m. and Dre and I are like, don't even have 100% of the votes counted. Thank you. So as like somebody who cares about government wasting money, I want to know how much money was wasted on these vote tabulators. They're not voting machines. They were not connected to the internet, so they're not able to be hacked. All the paper ballots are retained. These things just count the paper ballots. The paper ballots are retained and audited against the machines later on, and all the parties are involved in overseeing the audits of the machine. So, but what my concern is, I think they probably spent a ton of money and overpromised and underdelivered on what these things could do. So all that is to say, they're doing official recounts in 2 of these ridings, could be even more. We don't even have all the votes counted. We don't even have all the votes in. Thank you, Canada Post. And if things are looking hanky, it could go to an official judicial review of the votes. And right now, the NDP hold the legislature. So they're at 46. Conservatives are at 45. And as is the case of 2017, which was my prediction at the beginning of the live stream for the debate, if this gets close, the Greens are going to hold the balance of power, making the NDP more radical, even though a reasonable NDP, which they aren't, they never are, would say, oh my goodness, half this province is conservative. We should moderate our madness. They won't do that. Why? Because they'll need the Greens to hang on to power and help them push through legislation, as was the case in 2017, and it cost Alberta and the country of Canada billions of dollars in blocked resource projects.
Holy Jugmeet Singh, Batman, on the provincial level. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm starting to lose a little faith in the parliamentary democracy system, Sheila. But I want to ask you about something. You mentioned a record number of early ballots cast. And the rule of thumb is that tends to go against the sitting government. You know, if there is that much of...
and it did. Yeah. And it did. And it really did. I think the real story here is that people were motivated for change. They really were. The Conservatives really got the vote out. In the ridings, they won. They won by a lot. Like the most, as I said in the live stream that night, the most Alberta places of BC, and that would be the Peace region, the NDP didn't even crack 1,000 up there in 2 separate ridings. It was just like a sweep. If you look at the map of BC now, it should give you deja vu all over again, as David Menzies and Don Cherry says. If you look at the map of BC, it's blue everywhere except an orange strip along the coast where all the people and the ridings are. So you have these people who are culturally disconnected. They live in the resource industry. They live in farming and ranching and oil and gas and mining and logging, being controlled by urban elitists on the coast. And that feels very much like the Alberta experience within Confederation.
Oh, and Sheila, what we're witnessing right now in the United States with that election coming up in just 2 weeks. In Pennsylvania, take out Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. That's a red state. In New Jersey, take out Camden and Newark. red state. In New York State, take out New York City, Albany, and Buffalo, red state. It's really city mouse versus country mouse here, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it happens in Alberta too. The only reason the NDP ever get close to the levers of power in this province, they got too close for comfort and it still wasn't close in the last Alberta election, was because of Edmonton. Edmonton has a population base that has a lot of ridings, and it sometimes frightens me how much power that progressive hellscape has. But that's just how it is. And I'm with you. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. There just has to be a better way. Now, John Rustad, I was so worried that night when he came out to give his speech that he was conceding. I was like, don't concede. It's too close. Don't do it. He didn't. He says, we're going to wait till every last ballot is counted. And he is assuring British Columbians that he's going to stop the NDP from further destroying the province. So I think we've got a video to that effect, if you wouldn't mind popping that up, Olivia.
I'm optimistic that the people in this province are hungry for that change. And I can tell you something, what we have seen to date, because of the work that we've been doing, because of the pressure that we're putting on this government, think about it. They flipped on the carbon tax. They flipped on decriminalization. They flipped on involuntary care. They flipped on a whole bunch of things because they could see the damage that was being done. But I bet you this, and I'll say this right now, that if we have the unfortunate situation of David Eby being in a minority government, he will not do a single thing that he has promised. And that is something I'm almost guaranteed. And as the Conservative Party of British Columbia, if we're in that situation, we are going to make it as difficult as possible for this NDP to do any more destruction of this province.
I think that's good, Olivia.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, David.
To which David Eby replied, we really need to do better. You know, for a second there, Sheila, I thought I tuned into a press conference by the Toronto Maple Leafs in spring after yet another first round exit. We really need to do better. Roll the file footage.
Well, you know, let's just talk about the fact that the BC Conservatives really didn't exist as a party a year ago. A year ago. That's how thirsty the people of British Columbia 100%. Are for change.
Yep.
This is astounding that they got this close to forming government, and I'm totally not writing them off yet. I think if the British Columbia public had 6 more months of suffering under the NDP and the Trudeau government and 6 more months of getting to know John Rustad, it would have been a blowout for the Conservatives in British Columbia. They just ran out of time, unfortunately. But what a story that they even got this close. And as I said, I'm not writing them off quite yet.
Oh, to go from zero to official opposition potentially, or even the government, but even if they fall short, it is miraculous. I think we have another clip. Oh, well, where have we heard this before?
My big fear, 2017 all over again. Here we go.
Facing the prospect of a minority government, BC NDP leader David Eby confirms talks with Green leader Sonia Furstenau for a partnership. Ooh, talk about deja vu all over again. Let's hear what these two have to say.
And I also tonight spoke with Sonia Furstenau. And I congratulated her on running a strong campaign, on her contributions to this province in the 2017 Parliament. And since then, she ran a strong and principled campaign, and I'm grateful for that. And there are many values that we share in common with the Green Party. And I am committed to working with them on our common and shared values. And
yeah, you know, Sheila, how strong a campaign did Sonia run, given that the leader of the BC Green
Party lost her seat? She lost her seat. So how the hell does this lady get to be the kingmaker? Like,
That's even
she
worse than
was not
Singh.
even-
At least
she
Singh
was
has
not-
a seat.
Exactly. She wasn't even given a mandate by the people in her riding.
Yeah.
Yet she thinks that she can override the mandate given to the NDP by the people of British Columbia. You know, it's divided. You don't get to put him over the line. And this is all for show. This, like, the last week leading up to this election, she was all prickly doing this like prairie chicken mating dance with David Eby, because David Eby said to Green Party voters, don't waste your vote on your own party. We need to stave off the surging conservatives. And so she was mad. Oh, how dare you? How dare you? These are people of great morals and great ethics and great conscience, and so they will vote with their conscience, not strategically. And then now she pulls this strategic move, like anybody's supposed to believe that the Greens have any sort of moral or ethics. Look at their federal leader, Elizabeth May,
And you know, Sheila, just have a little fun with this. I
the
have to tell
MP from
you,
Ramallah.
just have a bit of fun with this. I have to admit, whenever I heard the premier's fan base chanting his name, EB, 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 endlessly, I was having deja vu all over again, as you said at the beginning of the show. I think of, and we were talking about going back to the 80s. Well, here's something from the 80s. It's not a good thing from the 80s. It's a clip from Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Looks like it was filmed in the 14th century. But I think of the robot Tweaky whenever people chant the premier of BC's name. Let's roll the footage for video evidence, shall we?
Booty, booty. Something from the bar, sir?
Hold the phone. Nothing for me, thanks.
Booty, booty.
Booty,
Booty, booty, booty.
You know,
David,
Sheila,
I found our Halloween costumes right there.
you know, I searched the internet. There's someone ahead of you, not even for Halloween, but he's made a identical Tweaky costume. What always struck me, okay, the show's set in the 25th century, all right? So hundreds of more years of development in AI and Android technology and robotics. And that robot is sentient. It can talk. It can have a conversation. It can walk. It can move its hands. It can make things. How in blue hell, Sheila Gunn Reid, does it have a speech impediment? How is it stuttering? I will go to my grave thinking about this.
It had vacuum cleaner hoses for arms. Anyway, we have a couple of ad reads to do, and then we'll hit a Rebel News ad, and we've got a very special chat for David, a Rumble rant for David. We got proof of life from Annalisa from over the weekend during the BC election debate. I'm happy to say she's alive. And she says, she gives us $20. This is Annalisa, 1964. She, as I always point out, is the president, CEO, treasurer, and secretary of the David Menzies fan club, membership of just one. She says, I can't wait to watch the show. I know Sheila loves reading my messages out loud. Hello, I just got a lot of saliva in my mouth. Hello, my sweet Menzies. You look very hot stuff today.
Keep going.
No, that's it. That's all you're getting out of me. That's all we got out of her. So,
Annalisa, you are a gem. If we ever get to meet, we should reenact the Tweaky scene, Tweaky and the female robot, where I go beady, 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 and you go booty, 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 and we'll take it from there. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Stop it right now. Okay. Couple of ad reads. We'll hit a couple of Rebel ads to pay the bills, and then we'll go into the rest of the show. This is from our friends at Freedom Chat. How many of you are concerned that your privacy is being invaded by the radical left? Or Justin Trudeau? Or CSIS? But I think I'm repeating myself. Liberal globalists are invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation. That's why we've partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that we've already mentioned a few times on the show. Freedom Chat offers true end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. This is the app that we trust, and it's the messaging app we recommend to all of our viewers. If you care about your privacy like we do, go to freedomchat.com/rebelnews and download the app right now. We are such a fan of Freedom Chat that we've even created our own channel at Rebel News, which you can subscribe to for exclusive content. Simply download the app, search for our channel at Rebel News, and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts you react to. It's your own private news feed. Again, download the app today and subscribe to our channel at Rebel News for exclusive posts and never before seen content. We've already posted there a few times, and we're going to continue to do that. So make sure you go and download the app, follow us, speak freely, message privately with Freedom Chat. And then we've got a quick message from our friends at Rumble. Because if you're like me, you love your dog, who is currently sitting under my desk chewing on what looks like a dead mallard, but it's a stuffed animal. If you have a dog, we've all been there. Our pup goes from full of energy to sick and miserable in an instant, and at the worst times, then we're calling vets in the middle of the night or on the weekends, trying to find a clinic that will take us in. It's a terrible way to manage your dog's health, not to mention your stress levels and your monthly budget. That's why people are getting the Pet Emergency Kit by Positive. It contains only critical medications and supplies that can not only keep you out of the vet office, but may even save your dog's life. Their kit contains critical medications like activated charcoal, styptic powder, and more. It might save your dog's life. Head on over to Positive, that's PAWSITIVE.com, and use the code STUDIO to get 15% off your Pet Emergency Kit. All right. Olivia, do we want to do Rebel ads, or do we want to just go into the next bit of the show? Okay, so we'll just keep trucking on. We've got protest madness continues in Toronto. We've got pro-Hamas activists that came to agitate in a Jewish neighborhood, but it's all about the war and not about anti-Semitism, they tell us. And they claim, of course, they will be back next week. So let's take a look at this.
Let's see you next week, Club 2.
See you next week! Don't die on us, okay?
Or do.
We'll bring the ambulance with us next time!
Surprise. This is all about, to use that Bruce Springsteen line, wearing trouble on your shirt. That protest, that pro-Israel, pro-Jewish protest, has been going on for more than a year, right at the corner of Bathurst and Shepherd. And by the way, in case anyone's saying, well, you have the right to protest, you do, but they're actually on private property. That is a mall parking lot. And the pro-Israeli people, they have permission to be there. These people do not. So I ask, well, where's your permit? Where's your permission giving this as private property? But let's point the real finger at who's to blame here, Sheila, and it's the Toronto Police Service. Why don't you shoo these people off onto the sidewalk? And I mean the sidewalk, not the road. Let's not block traffic, especially on a Sunday when the Toronto Marathon is in town and is already hellacious getting around. But they do not enforce the law. Oh, well, they do for peaceful counter demonstrators. They do for independent media. But this is an embarrassment. And Sheila, I was talking to Ephraim Monsanto, our super producer. We are going to be there next Sunday because these reprobates who are pro-Hamas, they're already talking smack online. We're going to be coming back. Well, we're going to be back too. We're going to document it, and we're going to ask the cops why this is being allowed, why this two-tier justice system, this two-tier law enforcement system is carrying out. Because you know what, Sheila? If I'm part of the Hitler Youth Movement, why wouldn't I be doing this? Every time the cops back away, and I think we saw the worst of it earlier this month in Ottawa, where the RCMP in armored cars went running away from these hooligans. If you are going to keep backing off, and for that matter, delivering Timbits and coffee, you embolden the mob. So it's only a matter of time, I think, Sheila, before somebody really gets seriously hurt, because that's the next level to take this hooliganism to.
Yeah, I mean, there's no incentive not to do any of this at this point. I saw images of a cop washing swastikas off the sidewalk. Like, this is where we're at in Canada. The cops are just like, well, I bet I'm bringing a bucket to work today because I've got to cover the anti-Israel protests, knowing full well there's going to be swastikas written on the sidewalk.
You know, Sheila, may I
This
interrupt
is
you
the
there?
state of affairs.
I didn't know that. That's really tampering with evidence, isn't it? I mean, I don't want those washed off. I
Look at
want that
this.
as an indicator. And also, I
This-
want you to, I mean, I'm a fan of forensic files. Maybe there's something that gives away who did that. How the hell is this police officer? Why does he think he's part of crime scene cleanup by washing it off? That is outrageous.
Yeah, this is what's happening in Toronto now. They write swastikas on the sidewalk, and instead of getting arrested for protesting on private property, chanting genocide in the streets, the cops will come and clean up the evidence of your crimes.
Wow. So the Toronto Police Service officers, they've gone from police officers to Uber Eats drivers and now members of Molly Maid. Unbelievable.
Yep. Let's keep going. We've got a video of Fred Hahn. He's the president of QP. Very upset that some of the leaders of Hamas are being dispatched by the IDF. He makes a speech at a pro-Hamas rally in downtown Toronto with various signs in the crowd paying homage to, I don't know why this tweet calls him fallen, dead, dispatched Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, Sinwar. Fred Hahn isn't, like, the gall of this guy. He's actively engaged in litigation with the members of his own union, represented by Catherine Marshall, who are suing him for anti-Semitism and discrimination. And yet he doesn't know enough to keep his mouth shut. Why? Because the union's probably paying his legal fees. Anyways, let's watch this jerk.
Our union, our members have been on the side of Palestinian liberation since 2006, when our union was the first in Canada to adopt a BDS campaign, the call to join BDS. Have the Canadian state honor the ICC warrant against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And before the resolution, we are committed to working with our members, to doing member-to-member education to make sure that people understand the history of Israel's occupation and colonization of Palestine and the Canadian state's role in propping up this horrible Zionist regime. It's important that as the largest union in Canada, our members have decided to do this, but we did it in part because of a call from Palestinian trade unionists for solidarity. As workers, when workers in any part of the world call on our solidarity, we must be there with them.
No, this is good. That's enough Fred Hahn screaming like a lunatic.
Yeah.
He's having the pantsuit off him by Catherine Marshall from Marshall Law. And do you know what his statement of defense is for his anti-Semitic statements? And the man is just an absolute idiot. His statement of defense is these things that he says when he's on the microphone at these events are not in his role as a union representative. And why does he keep talking about QP? Catherine Marshall's like, yep, just add it to the evidence folder every time he goes to these things, holding a QP flag, QP flags flying in the background amongst the Hamas flags, and even a Taliban flag was at the one a few days ago. Like, he is his own worst enemy, but it doesn't matter to him because the member dues of Jewish members are going to pay for his fight against them.
Unbelievable. And let's analyze his words, Sheila. Why is Israel a horrible Zionist regime when they dispatched Mr. Sinwar to the land of paradise, now he gets his reward, 72 voluptuous black-eyed virgins. By the way, think about that, Sheila. Isn't that amazing that it is so quantified and qualified what your reward in the afterlife is if you're a martyr? It's not 71 or 73, it's 72. It's not skinny, it's voluptuous. It's not blue-eyed, it's black-eyed. And they're virgins, not, ladies with loose morals. So Mr. Sinwar, if you believe this rhetoric, he's in paradise right now. But then again, Sheila, this wouldn't apply to Fred Hahn, would it now? Fred Hahn is openly gay. And not only does the 72 voluptuous black-eyed virgins mean nothing to him, those people he's sharing that demonstration is, if we're back in Gaza, if he's openly gay there, he is taken to a high-level rise and thrown off to his death. I mean, talk about a useful idiot. Talk about chickens for Colonel Saunders. It's unbelievable. But my last point, he's very mouthy, isn't it, when he's surrounded by these thugs and reprobates. But when I cornered him at Queen's Park last month and asked him questions, he employed the silent treatment and had one of his stooges physically interfere with the interview. So what a coward this guy is.
Whenever I see people like Fred Hahn, I'm for mutually assured destruction. Get the Pride Parade marching into the Hamas parade and just see what happens. Stand back and watch. I know, but I just, once a week, it should happen. It should happen until both of them go home. We have one more topic on protest madness, and this is the never-ending problem with Enbridge Line 9. Problem as in the hippies don't like it, but the pipeline is operational just fine and dandy. In Montreal, over the weekend, they were back at her. Protesters blocked the terminus of Line 9. Look at this, committing more mischief than any trucker convoy ever did.
Yep.
And some of these people who were there were arrested when they pulled this crap in 2022. Blocking Line 9. Now, wow. Line 9, this goes all the way back to Sun News days. Line 9, so this pipeline has been in operation since 1975. It was reversed once and then reversed, anyways, back in, I want to say 2013. And so this actually is one of those rare pipelines that takes Western Canadian oil to Montreal. And so it's been operating safely for, almost 50 years, reversed and re-reversed. What's the option here? So you're going to they don't want Western Canadian oil. So I guess you get Algerian oil or not Iranian, Venezuelan oil coming from the other direction. Like, you need oil in Montreal. You need oil and gas. So you can either get it from your fellow Canadians or you can get it from some of the more oppressive regimes in the world. These are just the facts. And so they don't want it from us. I guess you get it from Venezuela.
Well, Sheila, that is the fact of the matter. Have you ever seen such an assembly of imbeciles? They are against Canadian oil and gas. But I'm pretty sure, and you can check me on this, you know the energy sector better than I do. I thought a significant amount of oil and gas going into Quebec comes from Saudi Arabia. And yes, Saudi Arabia, not exactly pristine in terms of human rights.
Algeria, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, some of the less friendly folks in the world. We can line their pockets, or you could help your fellow Canadians give you money for social programs.
So why don't these lunatics fly to those regimes and do their little demonstrations and protests there regarding human rights?
They learned a little something when Greenpeace did this one time, got on that offshore drilling platform, and then were arrested for like 6 months and thrown into a Russian jail. They never did that again. They've never done it before. They did it the one time. They've never done it since, after some of these yahoos spent some time in a Russian jail.
And again, Sheila, how many of those people there got to the demonstration? Oh, by
I've seen them
fossil
do it.
fuel burning cars.
I've seen them do it. I've seen them do it. They did it in Edmonton. They had this like protest canoe blocking the street in rush hour, right? Because that's really good for the environment. Grinding an entire city going into the downtown core to a halt, so they have to idle in their vehicles, and their kids are late for school and drop off and whatever. Not to mention late for work. So everybody is like 100,000 people idling in downtown Edmonton trying to get to work. These hippies have, I think it was Extinction Rebellion, maybe, had the roads blocked off. They had their protest canoe out there because that's the way to get into the downtown core. Like, I don't know, the fur traders of yore. And then I saw them load the protest canoe into the most rundown, I think it was like a Chevy, not an S10, but like one of those boxy snub-nosed Chevys that just was like running on not all cylinders, rattling, and they put their canoe in there and drove away. And I was like,
yeah, do as I say,
saving
not
the
as
planet.
I do. And Sheila, what these knuckleheads should realize, like you said, when they shut down Edmonton streets and you have cars idling in traffic, the very worst emissions to come out of an internal combustion engine is when you're idling, as opposed to, say, cruising at a highway speed. So they are further worsening the alleged problem that they're campaigning against. And, it's just amazing, Sheila. I mean, Efren and I last week, as you know, we went to the venue where Jagmeet Singh was going to come. And I kept thinking, what EV will he show up in? Is it going to be a Tesla? Will it at least be a plug-in hybrid? That's what I drive. I guess I'm trying to do my part. Well, not really. I want the green plate so I can drive solo in the HOV lane. Well, Sheila, it will maybe not surprise you at all that he shows up in a Dodge Durango RT. There's the evidence. Look at that.
Yeah.
8 cylinders, 360 horsepower. There's Jagmeet with his human shield. I guess that's why so many NDPers are pro-Hamas. But, Sheila, you would think that since I'm gambling with Trudeau hundreds of billions of dollars in taxpayer money on EV battery plants that very well might not pay off. These might be giant white elephants. At least I should drive something that actually qualifies for a green plate. But no, they don't care. This is like a middle finger in our faces.
Yeah, they do this whenever we get an order paper question returned about the amount of electric vehicles in the federal fleet, like in the ministerial fleet, because not only do they get their driver, their town car driver or SUV driver, but they also get like a vehicle, and they're almost always gas jobs.
Yeah.
And when they were asked, why are you not using the electric vehicles you're trying to shoehorn Canadians into? And they say, well, we need something reliable and safe on the road. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Me
Did
too.
they say that?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, me too. I agree. Yes, I do need something reliable on the highways and on Alberta winter roads. Exactly. The same reason they choose those cars, same reason I chose my Jeep, but I don't get to make that choice. They do. We have to do some rebel ads, and then we've got to get into Catherine Tate testifying at Heritage Committee about the CBC bonuses, which she definitely does not want to talk about. Anyway, let's hit some ad breaks and then we'll come back into that.
Together we rise, unleash the power. Yeah. Unleash the power. Unleash the power.
What if governments are trying to reinvent the wheel when the greatest teacher of all times has already laid out the perfect blueprint for a constitution for a kingdom of love, faith, and freedom? Introducing the Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport. This special edition Freedom Passport captures the foundational truths of love, ethics, and freedom for all. It's a powerful reminder of Jesus' call to love one another and to be part of something bigger that you can carry with you every day. Join the movement, share the truth, and spread the love with your family and friends. Get your Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport at freedompassport.ca. And right now, all orders in North America come with free shipping and a free downloadable song with every purchase.
Why should you join Canada's National Firearms Association? We currently have one of the most aggressively anti-firearm governments in our nation's history, promoting fear and placing blame like never before. Our rights, freedoms, culture, and heritage, it's all on the line. But we are fighting back, and there is strength in numbers. We work within the law to change the law, to defend competitors, hunters, collectors, and other law-abiding firearms owners. We can get through this. We've done it before, and we'll do it again, if you are with us. Canada's National Firearms Association. Freedom, safety, responsibility.
Quality of life matters. Affording groceries and the basics matters. Ottawa has a different agenda. Their energy production cap will cut your family's budget, which means less money in your wallet. We say let common sense prevail. Tell the feds at scrapthecap.ca.
All right.
Right. So, as you teased before the break, Sheila, Catherine Tate.
Oh,
There's
God.
a joke in there somewhere, but I dare not say the punchline.
Woman is an absolute piece of work. She makes more than the prime minister and doesn't think that she should be accountable to Canadian taxpayers. Now, if you're paying close attention to the news today, the news broke that she was in France for the Olympics. Did you care? I didn't. Did you know? I didn't. Although if you ask Catherine Tate, Canadians would be concerned had she not gone. Right. Yes. That's definitely one of the most concerning things happening to Canadians. Oh my God, you guys, do you know where Catherine Tate is? Did you know that she didn't go to the Olympics? No. No. Anyways, she is just an absolute piece of work. As it turns out, apparently she was double dipping because news breaks that she went to the Olympics, blew $6,000 on the couple of days that she was there, including $1,000 a night hotel room. Then she says, so she's called to testify about the CBC bonuses. This breaks the night before. She's asked about it and she says, you guys, I was already in France for a holiday, so you guys should be glad that I didn't bill you for my air travel too. And it's like, no, lady, you just admitted to double dipping now. You just admitted that you were on holidays and you charged Canadian taxpayers for your trip to the Olympics.
But wait a minute, Sheila, just so I don't say anything wrong here. When she comes to Canada, that's a holiday. Isn't her primary residence in New York City?
Yes.
Yeah. How is that explainable? When the head office of the CBC is right on Front Street, right across from the Sky Dome in downtown Toronto, and she's in New York, why?
Well, who knows? Now, and she knows that she was coming. I wonder if I could find a clip of her. Maybe we've got the Jamil Javani clip. Let's just show that. Jamil Javani, new Conservative MP, best friend of JD Vance, Donald Trump's running mate. And he's so sharp at committee. I enjoy watching him at committee. Committee hearings can be so boring because you have to watch the boring stuff to get to the good stuff. He's so good. Let's show that Jamil Javani clip of him roasting her because he calls the movement to defund the CBC the big, beautiful, growing movement to defund the CBC. We're having a think here.
Oh, we've got that wheel of internet death, Sheila. So Olivia's going to try to cue it up. Let's try it again.
Ask if you agree with a statement that's been attributed to you. And I'm going to quote, the defund narrative has picked up momentum, especially as it relates to CBC television. Did that come from you?
Yes.
Okay. So that was reported last week by the National Post from an email they obtained from you, and I believe in January 2024. Is that correct?
I presume so, yes.
Okay. So when you look at the concerns over your expenses, right, which I think legitimate concerns over where your personal vacation time ends and where your billable time begins, when you see the concerns over news stories related to your bonuses that are going out and bonuses you may receive or executives receive, the $18 million that we've been talking about today, do you think any of that might contribute to what you yourself have observed as a growing movement to defund the CBC?
I absolutely do not.
Why is that?
Because I believe that having experienced now the third appearance at this committee, I would say that there is a clear effort on the part of members of this committee to vilify and to discredit me and to discredit the organization. Not one question has been asked, excuse me, not one question has been asked about the accomplishments of the public broadcaster over the last 6 years and how we have served
I think our
Canadians.
Liberal colleagues have asked you some of those questions, so I think that's not a fair representation of your time here today. But let's go back to something that our colleague, Mr. Coteau, asked you earlier. You referred to KPIs, key performance indicators. Would the idea that a growing movement in our country would like to defund your organization be weighed into an analysis of key performance indicators and determining whether the discretionary portions of the bonuses that you've acknowledged there is a percentage that is discretionary and not contractually obligated, that those percentages that you might consider, if people don't like what we're doing, if people don't trust us, if people would like the government to take money away from our bloated organization, maybe we shouldn't be spending more of their money than we have to. Could that not cross your mind in analyzing the KPIs?
We do not take into consideration political wins or influences in determining our business metrics.
So you would call it a political reaction for the average Canadian to hear that you're doling out $18 million in bonuses, that you're billing the taxpayer for your time in Paris while on a personal vacation. That's a political concern that the average Canadian wouldn't have a pure interest in that based purely on the fact that they are giving you their hard-earned money through taxes?
I'm not sure I understand what you're getting at on this question. I'm sorry.
30 seconds, please.
You're trying to marginalize legitimate concerns about abuse of taxpayer dollars and any accountability that we are trying as parliamentarians to introduce here. And you're saying it's purely political. And what I'm saying is the big, beautiful, growing movement to defund the CBC is not a purely political movement, but it is a matter of taxpayer accountability. Can you not acknowledge that?
I will not, Madam Chair, I will not be accused of abusing taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry for the record. We have managed our budget extremely carefully. We were facing $100 million.
I don't think the Canadian people would agree with you.
Bonnie, will you allow?
That's fine.
Yeah, Hetty Fry, she's not counting burning crosses in the
I'm just
BC
surprised she's still alive. Every time I see her, I'm like, good for Hetty. On the right side of the dirt.
You know, Sheila, a couple of things. No squandering of taxpayer dollars, and it's 1.4 billion on an annual basis, and 'twas ever thus. That in itself, that bloated budget, is all you need to know. And by the way, you want to know how to tell that they're so fat and so addicted to the taxpayer dollar, Sheila. Turn on CBC radio, say As It Happens. Just don't have to listen to all the direct, just the last couple of minutes where they throw to the credits. And you will hear anywhere from 5 to 10 producers. I will tell you folks, in a private sector radio station, even in a major market like Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, you name it, one producer, not 10. So can you possibly explain that? And this business where she said, and I'm paraphrasing now, but it basically means we don't play politics. This is the same CBC, Sheila, that went after the Conservative Party for using a CBC clip in their ad during an election. But the Liberals could use CBC footage. Nothing to see here. Unbelievable.
Right. And she doesn't have a clue. Like Jamil Javani is telling her, whatever your key performance indicators are, the fact that Canadians don't like you and want you defunded should be a consideration while you're giving yourself a bonus, don't you think? And she's like, how dare you, good sir? a clip that popped up because I have to watch everybody because I have to watch the Liberals to see how dumb they're being and how just like fawning over Catherine Tate they are. Talib Nur Mohammed put his foot right into a bear trap. And it was beautiful because really you should not be asking questions you don't already know the answers to. Larry Brock is really good at this at committee. Talib Nur Mohammed asked Catherine Tate, what were the amount of bonuses? How many people were receiving bonuses at the CBC in 2014? And then so she goes, dumb man, because she admits instantly they doubled in 2015 once the Liberals got elected. Watch this, it's wild.
Madame Tate, can you talk to us about what the CBC performance pay model was in 2014 versus what it is today in terms of its structure and how it's organized? Or is there any difference?
Just let me have a look here for my file. You say specifically in 2014. In 2014, the number of people receiving the performance pay was only 544 as opposed to 1,180. There was a decision taken before my arrival to expand the number of people receiving performance pay because we were having difficulty retaining certain pay bands within the organization. You need to understand that when I say we are paid at 50% what the industry pays, that means we have retention challenges. And therefore, the performance pay was put in place to a larger group of people in order to ensure retention.
Oh, so Sheila, not to reward performance, but just so you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
we wouldn't want them going to the private sector where they might be functional. We want to keep them stunted at the CBC. And, you know, like the absolute stupidity of Talib Nur Mohammed to ask that question, what is it now versus 2014? And I'm like, holy hell, they doubled it instantly. Well, isn't that just buying favorable coverage? You know?
Oh, Sheila, more than double. I mean, even though I am a grade 11 math failure, I know that 544 compared to 1,180, that's more than double, isn't it? I mean, even a bear or very little brain like me can figure this equation out.
Yes. There's one more clip. And so Kevin Waugh is so Saskatchewan. It's beautiful. He's a Saskatchewan MP. And Catherine Tate, her opening statement at committee was 5 minutes of her talking about how CBC surveyed CBC viewers. And guess what? CBC viewers found that they love CBC. Well, Kevin Waugh surveyed the rest of us. And so he did his own little survey. He's like, well, you know, like it's not from downtown Toronto, but it's from Saskatchewan. And this is what I heard when I sent out my own little survey of my people. And then he reads the survey responses to her. It's just beautiful because she's got to sit there and take it. And she deserves to sit there and take it. So show us how it's done, Kevin Waugh.
I did a survey of my own, and I know it's not Toronto. It may not be Vancouver. It may not be Montreal. But here's what my constituents, when I sent out, 1.4 billion a year and bonuses of 18.4 million. That's insanity. That came from Elaine. This is from Carol. I refuse to listen or watch CBC News anymore. You know the metrics in Saskatchewan. Nobody watches or listens to CBC. Here's from Dawn. Totally unfair to taxpayers and hungry folks in our country. From Trevor. Nobody I know watches or trusts CBC anymore. From Rita. Waste of taxpayers' money to fund bonuses on the executives. Should be a complete overhaul from the CEO and management. That came from Rose. Joanne, CBC has been a huge waste of taxpayers' money to fund this as soon as possible. From Dan, as a lifelong listener, CBC has lost its ways. So we had hundreds of responses from little old Saskatoon. 80%, 86% major changes to the corporation or to fund them entirely. 86% out of Saskatoon. What do you say about those numbers?
I say I travel this country from north to west to east, and I also have hundreds, if not thousands, of positive remarks back on how important CBC Radio-Canada is in those communities that I have visited. In the north, in Yellowknife, in Whitehorse.
How about Saskatchewan?
And by the way, in Saskatoon
Have you
too.
ever visited
I have
Saskatoon,
indeed.
Regina?
I
Good for you.
have both Saskatoon. I went to the Yorkton Festival.
Just 1 minute.
Okay, so
Some order, please. A question
That's
was
good.
asked
That's
of the
good.
witness.
Teddy Fry's gonna just drive you bananas listening to that old skeleton talk.
You know, Sheila,
wasn't that wonderful?
It is wonderful. You know, for a second there, I swear I thought Tate was going to say, I have flown this country from north to west to east. And when it comes to Saskatchewan, well, that's what we call flyover country in Toronto. I really thought she was going to be that, ostentatious, but that's unbelievable.
You can't hear her. You can't really hear what she says because of the over talking. But she says she went to some fancy ass festival in Saskatoon. Like that's indicative of what it's really like in Saskatoon. Like the normals are going to some fancy festival in Saskatoon that the CEO of CBC might attend. Like the woman is completely on another planet, disconnected from Canadians.
Yeah. Did that festival involve a drag queen performance by any chance?
You know what? I would have absolutely no doubt. We've got a quick Rumble rant that we need to read, and then we've got an ad, and then we've got a quick ad read from our friends at Rumble, and then we'll go into fun stuff from Trump.
Yes.
Oh, Trump working at McDonald's just warms the cockles of my bitter, jaded conservative heart. You can tell he really loves it. Like he's not faking. Okay. We've got a Rumble rant from Ryerson Gary. He said, this is nothing to do with the Russians. This is with regard to Jordan Peterson being accused of being a Russian propaganda by our idiot stick prime minister at an official inquiry into foreign interference. He said it's about jealousy of Peterson when Justin Trudeau attacks him. Peterson packs venues, people pack all venues and pay big bucks to see Jordan Peterson. Justin Trudeau can't even get paid UN delegates to come to his speeches.
It's
Fair
true.
enough.
And thank you, Ryerson Gary. And I believe when we tackled this last week, Sheila, you had mentioned that in Ezra's view, even though this was at a committee, Justin Trudeau still has parliamentary privilege so that he can go on to smear the likes of Jordan Peterson and Tucker Carlson. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
That's borderline defamation, what he said. Maybe all-out defamation.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Being a Russian agitprop is a crime. So you can't just go around accusing people of a crime. Efron tells me that Ezra needs a studio. So we're going to skip the Rumble ad read, apparently. Olivia, is that right?
See,
Okay,
membership
so
has
let's
its
just
privileges, folks. When you own the company,
we do what he says.
That's right.
Let's go into one Trump clip real quick. David, I'll let you pick. I absolutely love the photo op of like morning in America, Trump waving out the drive-through window. Just it's beautiful.
Let's go with that one then. Let's see what Trump just did that Kamala claims she did, but did she? Check it out.
Make it fact. Mr. President, you actually have worked at McDonald's now. Now I have worked at McDonald's. I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala. Are you going to put this on your resume? I never worked here. Why would she lie about something like that? What can you put on your resume? Worked at McDonald's. Why would she lie about that? Why? Because she's lying, Kamala. That's why. Make it fact.
And you know what, Kamala's campaign team, prove us wrong. Tell us the year, tell us the city or the state, anything. Which McDonald's did she work at, assuming it's still there? And from what I know about McDonald's, it's a rare day when a McDonald's has to close its doors. So where did she put in that fast food tenure? Still waiting.
would absolutely lose my marbles if I pulled up to the McDonald's drive-thru to get my iced coffee, no liquid sugar, and there was Donald Trump giving it to me. I would lose my mind. He made so many people's days. And, you know, like, he looks like there's a man who sees the dignity in work, right? Like, he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do stuff like this, but he sees the dignity in having an honest day's work and an honest day's wage. And I love it. I just love it. And what a troll of the Kamala campaign to say, like, look, now I've worked at McDonald's and you definitely didn't.
Beautiful. Oh, wow. Well, folks, we got to wrap this up. The big boss man needs the studio. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Of course, I want to thank my beloved co-host, Sheila Gunn-Reid, for doing all the heavy lifting, especially sitting through all those committee meetings.
Not done yet.
Not done yet. And a special thank you to those who made a contribution. Sheila and I will be back here on Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern. In the meantime, as always, stay safe and stay sane.